Upon request, we got a good ass eye test coming up. One that's not too much talked about, but to me very comparable. Like players scoring, efficient small forwards, get buckets, clutch, critical, crucial moment type player, mid range assassins, both in their right. You got Carmelo Anthony versus Paul Pierce, man. Of course, Paul Pierce is retired, so if you compare today's Pierce to Melo, you just a stupid nigga and you need to get out this channel, homie. Straight up. It's not a joke. Get off this channel right now. We're comparing prime Paul Pierce to prime Melo. Even Melo today is not in his prime, so I don't even think that'll be righteous. So, without further, I forgot who was the subscriber who wanted this video, but appreciate you for it, man. This is a good ass debate. And we're gonna keep them going. I'm gonna get to all of them. Cat versus AD. I like that one too. We're gonna keep this shit moving, man. Channel's progress. And disclaimer, I'm gonna get my video game right too, man. I'm gonna get my visuals up too. Been on the phone, using the phone. We've been vibing this far, so nigga don't complain. But I'll be getting that shit up soon, so don't trip. Melo versus Pierce. Here we go. So, the first thing, scoring. Who's a better scorer? Because two primary scorers, I feel like the main initiative to talk about would be the offensive end. Both players profound 20 points per game, 25 point per game people. The better scorer in my eyes is Carmelo Anthony for the reason that he can get it in many ways. He's not only an outside decent perimeter shooter, but he's a fair ball handler, and he's an extremely good post player for a wing. You normally don't acquire the post play till later on in your career, but Melo was one of those who kind of almost instantly had it. He was instantly an offensive machine, even at Syracuse. The bigger man was he was always often the bigger man at small forward, so it was easy for him to dominate in that mid 15, 10 feet area in the post. Paul Pierce is a great post player too and a great scorer. It's just he has more of his patented moves, such as that elbow jumper or just the fadeaway little step back or just coming off a pick and lighting you up, whereas Melo kind of has more variation. So scoring, I would say Carmelo Anthony. Shooting, I would say Paul Pierce. Melo's a great shooter, and I believe he's an excellent streak shooter, and he's a better shooter off the dribble. Whereas Paul Pierce, he's much better as a set shooter. Later on in his career, especially when he kind of got older, like he was venturing with the Wizards and later Pierce, when he set shot, he was very high and very proficient from deep. He had that shot where he didn't really have to jump. He still doesn't even jump on his mid-range shit. You know what I'm saying? But when he set wide open, he was a knockdown shooter. And his mid-range is so cold. Both these players have a cold mid-range. Overall shooting, I say Pierce. If I could translate to mid-range, that would be so tough for me to do right now. You talk about two people who literally lived, like Paul Pierce, for the beginning of his career, lived off the mid-range. And this is why both of these players are clutch. They can hit the mid-range essentially anytime they want. Melo's more prone to jab step. Hopefully he can show a jab in a mid-range. Please show it while I... Look, I haven't never watched this video. Just put it on. This is eye test shit. That's his patented move, whereas Pierce is more post-play, step back to the mid-range. Hopefully we'll see it in this video as well. Good shot. But mid-range game is so close. It's like pick your poison. For me, I'm taking... I don't even know who I'm taking for mid-range. I honestly don't know. I've seen them both be killer in the mid-range. I've seen them both be super clutch in the mid-range. So, first time in eye test history, we're going to have to cancel that out. Mid-range game is a tie. Defense, I got Pierce. Pierce always took the initiative to guard the best player. Like, say, if Kobe was torching or Bron, he's going to guard Kobe or Bron. Pierce has that California swag, that LA mentality to where it's like, hold on, man. I'm a grown-ass man. You ain't finna score on me like that. You're not just finna get it like that. Not saying he was a super great defender. Obviously, Pierce is slower, the slower player. But he has an IQ, and he's strong, and he has good lateral movement. He's just pretty slow. Like, If he was a little bit faster, he could be possibly an elite defender. Melo never really pried on D though. So that's why Pierce gets the nod on defense as well. Melo was more lackadaisical on D, and even when it was emphasized for him to play D, he more so just went for like strips after the move. He was a real good. He still is a real good player at stripping the ball. But overall defense, I give that to Pierce. Clutch. Oh man, don't make me do it. These players are much closer than it appears. I think I'll say Melo is more clutch just because off the dribble as well as a spot up, he's just as deadly. Pierce is more so he has that elbow game in the clutch where it's a fadeaway, but it's almost prototypical simple moves in which he reverts to. If you stop that, the improvisation might be a little different. Whereas Melo, I've seen him pull up taking the ball up the court from 30. I've seen him pull up with the mid-range. I've seen him get a corner one. I've seen him create it for himself. I've seen him score in the clutch moment in so many different ways that I'm almost inclined to say Melo's the better clutch player. Shout out to All Around Channel, you feel me? I pick off videos and some of them let me do it, you feel me? Appreciate you. But yeah, Melo's more prone to get it in a variation of ways. So for clutch, I like the player who has a different chance of getting it other types of ways. Free throws are both clutch. Free throw shooting, I say Pierce still gets that. I think Pierce is the more pure shooter. Melo's the more streak shooter. Rebounding, it's kind of a toss-up. I would have to say, I don't know, rebounding is... These players are very, very similar. Very, very strikingly similar that it's almost hard to compare. It's almost hard to give one leverage in a certain category. So intangibles, I would say Pierce gets the intangibles because I've known Melo to be kind of lazy and lack the hustle in which Pierce always really had. Pierce is a slow player, but Pierce is always a winning basketball player. And it's not because he won. It's because he's willing to do the little things. He's willing to make the extra pass more easily. He's willing to not look at the scoreboard and be like, all right, I need to get 30. I've seen Melo play games in which appeared to me like he was just getting it for himself. So intangibles, I got Pierce. Passing, I will have Pierce too. Melo can pass pretty good, but Pierce is the more willing passer. And usually, if your passes are on point, I'm going to really defer to the more willing passer. You know what I'm saying? If I don't trust you to pass the rock, it's a problem passing. You feel me? So Pierce I have with passing. So it's getting pretty, you feel me, close. I think Melo is the overall better scorer, but for me as a coach and as a player, I would rather play with Paul Pierce because he's just as good as a scorer, probably slightly less the scorer, but he's a bucket getter. He's one of those niggas in the park that nobody can guard one-on-one. His game ain't flashy, ain't none of that, but everybody in the park know he gets buckets and he's the one to stop down the stretch. So overall game, man, I got Paul Pierce. Melo aesthetically is more pleasing, and he appears to be the bigger superstar and the bigger name. But I think as a player, I'm taking Paul Pierce, and that's just by a slight edge. I may take Melo if Melo was to crack down, wind down on his defense. Even in his prime, he wasn't the defender. I've seen Paul Pierce take the challenge of Kobe, take the challenge of LeBron. And Melo will take it too, but he'll get torched. He torch back and get torched. So overall, man, it might be a shocker. I got Pierce. This video won't be too long, about 10 minutes. I got Paul Pierce just for the simple fact he has the intangibles. He scores just as good. He's the better pure shooter. He makes the right play more often. And Melo is basically just the better scorer. So there you have it, man. Paul Pierce, to me, is the better eye test player. Melo, it's easily a debate. I can go back and forth with why Melo is the better player, but me, just my mentality on basketball, I'm going to take Pierce. As a coach, as a player, I'm going to take Pierce. So yeah, this your boy Dame. Hit me up, subscribe to me, Damian Harkless. Carmelo Anthony, Paul Pierce, this eye test shit continues. Let me know who you got. Peace.